Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Three Live Canes. As always, I am Chris. That's Bill. Steve will be there in a minute. Right before we went on, 2 or 3 hours into our pre-show meeting, his camera started acting a little wonky, so it jumped down on him, but he'll be back in soon. Here to talk to you guys about another week of Miami Hurricanes football, an opportunity for us to discuss some of the things that are going on this offseason as we're heading to the lull of the time period, but on a day that historically has been a very exciting one for college football fans. There's not really much juice talking about National Signing Day. I mean, you could put it in the name of a show a couple 5 years ago, and you'd get 1,000 people that wanted to see it just because of the nature of the beast and what it was, but not so much anymore. And we'll talk a little bit about that. Talk a little bit about other guys that might be still in the pipeline for 25 that, along with the portal class and what could happen down the road with that too. But before we get to all that, Bill, how are you doing today?
I'm big chilling. I didn't even realize it was new or old National Signing Day until maybe mid-afternoon. I think Michigan got big time tackle, but no, that was a day that I used to take off from work because I wanted to watch all the announcements and kind of go through all the craziness. But the sport has evolved, recruiting has evolved. And here we are.
Yeah. Evolved is definitely one way to put it. Other people would say devolved, considering where we are right now compared to where we were. But we'll talk a little bit about that because there is still at least one 2025 kid out there that we're still excited about. But obviously, for the most of the high school class is already set and solid and signed with where they're going to go. And then obviously the portal stuff going to come after that. So thank you guys for joining us here today. It's an off-season show, so if you have any questions, interesting things you want to throw out there for us to discuss, feel free to drop it in there. Otherwise, we'll do our best to entertain you for a little bit and talk some Miami Hurricanes football. Thanks for watching. It's Three Live Canes.
This is for the national championship for Nebraska.
He's a stud, that Brown, number 98.
Irvin's got it. Irvin's free.
Slips to the outside, tries to stiff arm, but he couldn't get by Ray Lewis.
Big time players. Step up in big games.
Hurt, dog. Don't ask me for more. Hell no. Devin Hester up to the races. That's what they needed.
That's Ricks going up for Thorpe, and it's intercepted near midfield. Sean Taylor's got another one.
Who else?
Who else but Sean Taylor? Who else but us? Here to win tonight, talk to you guys about Miami Hurricanes football. Like we said, National Signing Day today. So, I was thinking back to the memories of National Signing Day and all those crazy times where 20 years ago, you're out there looking on a message boards trying to best. What was it? What was the what was Shadow's board's name?
Miami-Hurricanes.
Yeah, Miami-Hurricanes.com. I remember being there. The rivals page, the scout pages, anywhere you could to get information about signing day. And very different than today where we have, all of the hay being put in the barn months ago. And now we're just kind of sitting here. I guess it is National Signing Day. But before we move on to other stuff, was there anything that I see CF came in as a question. We'll get to that very soon. But any crazy signing day memories or any really things that popped into your mind when you're thinking about the nostalgia aspect of all those days?
Yeah, I mean, I remember the Alex Collins letter of intent saga where there's Steve-O joining in.
Got to fix Steve-O?
Yeah, all good.
I think the camera saw you at no sleeves today. Couldn't handle it. Just shut down. Just shut down. But go ahead, Bill.
So when Alex Collins' mom stole his letter of intent, I remember waiting on the Willie Williams letter of intent to get in, as that was one of the biggest, wildest recruitments. Really kind of set the stage for what modern recruiting was from what was that post 2005-ish, whatever year that was. But yeah, those two. But I more just like the announcements, right? The hat games, or recruits just throwing hats and mocking teams. It was always just drama filled, and you couldn't get enough of it for those 4 or 5 hours in the morning into early afternoon.
That's right, Steve-O. You have any distinct memories of National Signing Day over the years, following it and seeing all the craziness?
Yeah, I mean, you said it all. I mean, we had a signing day ceremony today at St. Thomas. It's just normal. It's a regular day at the office now. Like, signing day, we follow a big Power Four program. Signing day really on February isn't for us. That's more for guys, going G5, FCS, other things like that. Because now early signing period is what it is. Like, you want that bag, you want that NIL, you sign in December. That's just what it is. So this type of signing period is more like, hey, what are we looking like for potential spring additions, to the roster and portal wise? I think that's all Canes fans can look forward to. Maybe you prefer walk on or two might come through, but other than that, I think talent acquisition via the portal is the only thing we'll be looking for. And those guys could sign that in whenever. So that doesn't need a day or whatever the case may be. So signing day, a lot of good memories, but if we're not talking in December, early signing period, all the fun's kind of out of it. This is just hey, let's take pictures. Most of these kids already signed. We're just doing signing day ceremonies and stuff. But yeah, another good day to be a Canes fan. It's not like we had anybody flip or some crazy stuff happen to us, or we're waiting for some fax machine in Toledo, Ohio, or some crazy story. It takes a lot of it, but we just have other things to look forward to. We're coming in, to an off season of Carson Beck's health, fit, maybe pieces at different positions, whole different staff on defense, pretty much outside of Jason Taylor. That's the stuff we'll be chewing on. I don't think anybody expected anything to be anything else on the signing day other than quiet.
Yeah, and that there is a piece of the puzzle. The only one that's still kind of floating out there, and Fresh already jumped and asked a question about it, is Flowers. Are we getting him? Javari Flowers. We talked about it last week. It broke on the show while we're doing the show that he reclassified to the 2025 class. 24/7. A lot of them already went to work on updating the rankings and all that. Have him as a 90, a 4-star guy. Blue chip level dude. I think if you talk to local people that have probably seen him more, because I don't know how much they've actually laid eyes on him with the intent to rank him for this year.
They have plenty of times.
But do you think that the ranking is fair? Or do you think that because they have him as a 40-something ranked corner right now? Like, what would you say, Steve-O, a guy of his caliber? Like, how would you evaluate him?
It's when the final rankings are just coming out. So for you to jump into that class, I don't care about the number. They have him at the 40-something ranked corner, but he's still a top 100 guy. So at the point, who cares? Like, there's not 40 corners listed ranked higher above him. It's just whatever. They just didn't change that.
Yeah.
It's okay. They've seen him a while. He's played with Ross since he's a freshman. He's been in front of you should see Andrew Ivins and all those guys. Javari. So it's been like that for a long time. The rankings are probably going to adjust on other sites as well. I know at Rivals will have him very high. I got to peek at that, what that's going to be. But we've had him the highest the whole way. So I think it's justified. He'll be in his natural class, reclassifying up. So it's not a guy you're worrying about him being super, super young. Physically is as ready as you could be as a high school prospect. Chiseled, it looks good. I think track has really helped him not reshape his body, but just now he's just built for speed, to be honest with you. I think that's a justifiable rating. He's had plenty of exposure. And when you're fast and you run back kick returns, that's just an element of the game that is so overlooked, but it's fun. Everybody likes a kick return or a punt return touchdown. It doesn't matter who you're rooting for or who you're doing this. It's just exciting. It's one of the more exciting things that football has to offer. So when you could do those things at a regular and you're, low key could run in the Olympics. He could qualify for the 100 and the 200. He's running sub 10.4s. The rankings are going to be there.
How would you stack him up against the other guys in terms of, it's a cornerback room that took some heat last year. Like, how would you stack him up in terms of ability to play right away? We're looking at guys who could step in and, get some time.
It's probably a totally different conversation if he reclassified before we went crazy in the portal. When it comes to early impact, I think you get one of those corners that we were after instead of the Michigan State, getting Brantley and Connor. And Emmanuel. I think after that kind of is what maybe, I don't know if his impact will be instant, but there ain't no point in redshirt him. Just let him be kick return or punt return. Let him get his hands on the football and show that South Florida speed that could take it to the crib. So playing away, I do think he'll get a chance to play on special teams, gunner, returns, all that type of stuff. Starting out the gate, I don't think so. Just too much, with Javari and a bunch of guys that they brought in as transfers that they'll be wanting to get a good look at during camp. I don't know how long he'll be able to make those plays for him to assert himself. Like OJ had a wide open chance, bro. Like let's be real, he had to beat out De'Ani Hill. And that was it, really. And that's what it let OJ ascend. I don't know if J-Rock's path could be that smooth just because how improved the cornerback position is, at least on paper.
I gotcha. What's up, Birdstone? How you doing, man? Bear from the start. But Steve, Bill, thoughts on Flowers at this point? I know, Fresh said it's been quiet, and there hasn't been a lot of news since last week, obviously, but we're kind of in a position where you're not going to probably hear much at this time, especially with a lot of other people already be sewn up. But thoughts on Javari at this moment?
Yeah, I mean, he's going to take his visits, and I didn't know this when he reclassified last week, but he's essentially reclassifying to what grade he should be. So It's not like he's coming in at 16 years old, but with Xavier Lucas and O'Connor and Brantley and OJ, if he does end up at Miami, that's definitely an uphill battle. But in terms of kick returner, that's wide open. How long has it been since we've actually had a dynamic returner that was truly feared, or that you were really excited to watch? Right, we've had a lot of guys that can go back there and fair catch it. We've had some fast guys that just couldn't figure out how to work the wedge or hit the hole. So it's been a little while, but I think if we do land him, that's something that might change pretty quickly, considering his track record in South Florida.
Yeah, track record, to go along with potential actual track records, it's going to be a good deal for him when if he does decide to play for Miami, and we're all kind of hoping for it. You give a confidence level from either of you guys, like, how do you feel about his potential to be here? I mean, there are some other heavy hitters in there, but it does seem like a good fit, a good opportunity for him down the line. Are you guys feeling good about it, or you're not too sure? Bill, I'll go you first.
I feel pretty good. It's some Northwestern kid, but we did spend pretty big at corner, right in the portal, right, last recruiting class. But Georgia's lurking out there. I think they're the main ones right now, but it's Georgia, right? Maybe they're not what they were a couple of years ago, but they're still Georgia. But a local kid from Miami Northwestern, you gotta feel good, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, this is Georgia missing out on a couple of their top cornerback targets, one being Chris Ewald, who Georgia was all over, one being Ben Hanks, who ended up going to Florida. This is a Georgia team that's more inclined to get a corner who they thought it was really high on their board for the next following year. And I know that because they just had one reclassify as well. His name is Dominic Kelly. He played with another 7-on-7 team that's called Raw. That him and J-Rock used to actually start next to each other. So it was pretty. They have a good vision of getting these corners that they like, that are getting them in the right grade and springing on them quick. Georgia was all over that situation. I think J-Rock's is a little bit slower of a thing. He's going to take those visits, but yeah, this is a Georgia team that had to do some things at cornerback that they're probably not used to having to do with their recruiting prowess, and that's because they've been stacking, top 3 classes perennially. They're still going to be up there, but they're not going to get the loads and loads and loads that they were stockpiling it since the NIL era came out. It's just straight up. They're not having 3 to 5 stars on the bench. Like, that's just not happening no more.
Yeah, the portal class the portal situation makes it very different, which honestly brings me to the next thing that has come up over the past maybe a couple weeks. I think Nebraska was the first team to have this conversation, but there was a time there where you go out there for spring ball and you get a look at your team for next year, then you'd be really excited about it, right? And then you say, oh, we have this, this. And then I think it was Nebraska is the first team that did it. And then Texas has recently said something similar about, maybe we're not going to do this spring game. Maybe we're not going to put it out there because, put it on television, whatever. I remember back in the day, Bill and I had this, we sent $20 to this guy and he sent us like a DVD of the spring game kind of a deal. But like, these days it's high media. Everybody wants to watch the spring game, but all these teams are worried now. You put your spring game on television, you got other teams scouting your talent and you got NIL people ready to put some money up. So What are your thoughts on the idea of spring games now being the next thing in modern college football to go by the wayside because of teams being afraid of other schools seeing their young players that actually could become contributors in the following year? Steve, I'll go to you on this one first.
They're not going away, as in they're not going to have them. The spring game is literally just a glorified 15th practice for spring football. So let's just be real what it is. The real scrimmage or real spring game is probably a week before that, or, pretty much so. But it does, for NIL purposes and all this stuff, you want these guys to make plays on TV. You want your family to be able to see you. So it sucks for the players because they're the ones getting the brunt of it. But it's also the players that are just able to up and leave because there's no structure in the transfer portal, and there apparently is no portal if you're up to date with how the NCAA has been going. So It's definitely wild west. Once this happened with Wisconsin, I think now the entire FBS Power 4 level is going to be thinking of this moving forward, because they could have this game without everybody seeing it. They could just literally do it, and then their fans will cry about it. But then you're like, oh, people can't just take your players. But I mean, I really don't think the spring game is really what that does. I mean, they go based off your high school rating before that. Like, oh man, this guy had 3-4 touchdowns in the spring game. I mean, my boy Ibieta at LSU went crazy in the spring game, went bonanzas. No one was going crazy at him trying to throw him money. I think people are taking it out of context, but I get it, but like, bro, they going off your high school ratings in the film more than, oh man, you see how you looked in that spring game.
So if you were a coach, Steve, it wouldn't bother you. Would still run it, still put it on TV.
Bro, you're going against walk-ons half the time. Like, oh man, he was a blur. You couldn't cover him. Yeah, because Tommy from Band was out there at safety. Like, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I wouldn't take away the media aspect of it. If those big schools feel that way, maybe they should, establish a little bit of culture to go with that NIL. Ooh. They feel that way. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. There should be some regulations and stuff like that to, help the transfer portal at least semi-work in a way that these kids can get a degree, because most schools require you to have 60% of the courses to give a degree at their university. So all these kids that are going portal every year, mercenaries, bro, they don't even got an AA if they got that. So, they're going to have to do something in regards to that, but not televising your spring game is not one way. I mean, think about it. They're recruiting too. Like, all these kids want to watch it. I mean, bro, you think these coaches are sitting there watching your spring game waiting for them? All these G5 coaches are just waiting for these kids to want playing time and transfer down to them, or transfer to a lower Power 4 school, whatever the case may be. I don't think they're watching your spring game waiting for it.
I think these, I think coaches are, naturally paranoid. And if there's a small chance that they think that, maybe their third string, freshman running back is going to ball out, and then, someone's going to make a massive offer, I think they're going to be more inclined to shut it down. The spring game was always for the fans, right? It's kind of just to give us a little glimpse of football, right? Before the summer starts. But I could go either way on it, to be honest. If Miami came out and say, hey, we're not doing a spring game anymore, I'd be like, oh, okay, cool. We'll live with those 15-second clips on Twitter every other week or so. But I mean, I always watch it. I enjoy watching it. But again, I think it's more for the fans, especially for those programs that could sell or fill $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 or seat stadiums to just make it a huge event, like Steve was saying, like a recruiting event as well. I know Miami takes full advantage of that as well. But I think even for us, because we've had so much coaching turnover, right? Both at head coach and the coordinators. Like the spring was always like that. Hey, let's see what the new defense looks like. Let's see what the new offense looks like. So is there storylines to it? For this year, yeah, right. We have a new DC. Are we going to learn anything from the spring game? No. But it's a talking point, something for the fans, something for recruits. But if coaches have that sense that others are scouting their roster, they'll shut it down.
And honestly, a big part of it could also just be coaches if they can get family in to watch scrimmages, they can get recruits in to watch scrimmages and all that, and maybe they just don't want to deal with like, oh, I got to bring another TV crew in, I got to talk to them, got to do this whole thing, making a big deal where they'd rather just not. Sometimes coaches are just that way. They'd rather just not deal with all that other stuff, keep it on a lower scale just for the people that need to see the team and bring the recruits in and do all that. But who knows? It's hard to say. Like you said, like both of you guys said, it's hard to get in the minds of the coaches, how they see certain things. But I do like Steve-O taking some pretty significant shots at Matt Rule down there. Saying like it's making a culture thing if the culture was better. So any negativity towards Nebraska, I'm fully on board with. I know that CF Kane fan asked before, who was the player that we wanted to sign but signed with Nebraska? He kept delaying signing, going out in the hallway of his school.
Jaden Francois.
Jaden Francois.
I think he was at Utah State last I checked, balling out. He might have hit the portal again.
Quick Google search. All right.
Jump in the Google machine.
Yeah, I think.
Oh, he's at Duke.
Yeah, he's at Duke for his senior year with Manny. Way to bring him home, Manny. Manny didn't get him on signing day. Way to bring him home, Manny. Good job.
Every day we'll go home.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. He played good at Utah State, though. I mean, some stuff happened. He went from Nebraska to UCF, and stuff happened at UCF that wouldn't allow him to be on the field. I thought he was always good. His high school tape was good. He got his chance at at Utah State and played pretty well. I think he'll actually do fine for Duke.
Was Band out there at Utah State?
Nah, Banda's been in the league.
Where is he now?
Is he still in Cleveland?
I don't think so. They've overhauled that staff.
The Land, yeah. He's the safeties coach in Cleveland.
He's still there?
I thought he was getting DC offers.
Nah,
in the NFL?
He's been interviewing at least. So
look at that.
You talking about Cooper, Derek Cooper, Ian Coleman. Yeah, I think he just plays running back in college. Could he play running back, linebacker, and safety? Probably, but that's just too much toll on your body. That's everybody wants to do this whole Travis Hunter both ways, and I'm all for it. But running back and linebacker is a lot different than playing receiver and corner.
The only one I could think of is Miles Jack at UCLA.
Yeah, and then that's not a good example because his injuries took his career pretty much. And he could have been a guy. For Jacksonville, to be honest. Had some decent years, better years than people give him credit for. But, yeah, that's tough. That's a lot on your body, bro. That's 50, 60 hits out of 90 snaps, 70 snaps.
Wide receiver corner is a little different. It's a little more finesse.
Yeah, in 2025, wide receiver is different. That's totally different. It's not like you're coming across the middle expecting to die. Yeah, that's a lot. I would hope he doesn't do that, but I mean he works really hard. I see him all the time at the park training with Coach Allen from Dillard. Could play threat out of the backfield, do a lot of DB training. Stupid athlete. That's why he's never one athlete in the nation. But I don't know. If he plays both ways in college, but can we get him? I think we have a really good chance at getting him. I think, I think there's one thing the staff has done is identify young local talent, and they've been on Cooper for a while now. This is not a brand new name. Oh my God, we're late on him. I mean, we've been recruiting him since the end of his freshman year, if the end, probably halfway through it, come October. So that's a long haul one. It's been a couple different voices though in his ear. It was Harris at first, Coach Ice Harris. So we'll see how that goes. But everything I've heard about Coach Merritt is he's a dog on the trail. He can run with the kids. And this is not a recruiting battle you're gonna win with coaches, man. This is King Connections. Time to shine, baby. If you want Cooper, this is not we'll get his mama. Yeah, you better get his mama on board too with that check. He's a top 5 player in the nation, bro. NIL is a given. Like, that running back, you're gonna have to believe that running back coach can develop you and push you forward. But I think the running back production under Coach Mario Cristobal, even at Miami, speaks that you could come here and play and get 1,000 yards. Like Damian Martinez just got Jordan Lyles, a freshman, 400 plus yards. I think we established the tone that we could run the ball with the offensive line that Coach Cristobal and Coach Mirabal are going to put together. every year. But yeah, he's a big dog, bro. Ohio State, I mean, they are on him. Auburn, I'm not going to tip his hand, but I mean, literally anybody you could name that has a really good collective is on him.
With all that said, if you get an opportunity, would you have him be a running back? Do you think that's his best potential?
Bro, you got to give him the thing about these kids with that could play multiple positions, bro. How can you make him more impact? You can hand this kid the ball 20 plus times a game, and he'll destroy you. He'll wear you down. I mean, he's a physical freak of nature. People always get so when you think about athletes, you think about this super fast and elusive guy, and you think of those twitchy guys. And no, he's an athlete that he might just be pound for pound the strongest, fastest, best player on the field at all times. I mean, that's the type of dude he is. It's kind of like JJ, just too physically dominant for the position. Low key, that's what he is. Would I want him at linebacker? Nah, I just want him to get the ball 20, 30 times a game. I would not want to tackle him 20, 30 times, bro. It just is what it is. And he fits the running style, the running mode that Coach Cristobal wants to have. He's a duck shoulder guy. He can make people miss. He has wiggle. He's not stiff. He can catch out the backfield. He's an all-purpose back, obviously, this day and age. But, bro, I need him at running back. I'm sorry. There's teams that want him at defense. They were offering him at defense early, and they've switched to wanting him at running back. I think it's too clear. Does Power 4 schools still want him on defense? Sure, I feel him. I like him at safety in the box. He does a lot of good things for Chaminade. He plays corner. He does everything. Obviously, when you're one of the best players in the nation, but gotta hand him that ball.
That makes sense. Bill.
Yeah, as bad as we need, athletic, fast linebackers. Athlete of his caliber, you put the ball in his hands and let him be a part of a dominant offense.
Another question.
There's times like, so I've been at Chaminade games. Obviously, we played Chaminade this past year. It's tough, man. It is tough think about it, like when you're tackling him, and then we just rotate some fresh legs in, a guy like maybe like a Hellcat or a Pringle with just so much speed, and you're just so worn down from every time they're meeting you at the hole, running you over, running for 10, 15, 20 plus, 30 plus more yards after he's done ran you over. And then this next guy comes in out the door. That's really, a lot of people really underestimate how that change of pace back with those fresh legs. How you always see them, this backup's in, and then they're like, oh man, he's doing better than the starting running back. No, he's not. He's living off what the starting running back's punishment just dealt to them boys. I mean, them boys just had to tackle Derrick Henry. Of course, they don't want to tackle Justice Hill right now. That type of stuff, I think, goes great with that. So he would improve the entire room. To be honest with you, just like the Damian Martinez factor with Jordan Lau, he ended up bring his own physical presence to the game. But you're tackling Mark Fletcher, you're tackling Damian Martinez. They put the freshman in, thank God. And then boom, he's running me over and running 22 miles an hour down the sideline. They get like that.
We're on the topic of 2026 guys. Birdstone just threw in there. Javari Brady, how are we feeling? So Steve was a receiver, so naturally we go to you.
I like Jabari. I've seen Jabari for a long time. I do think he's one of the best players down here in South Florida. Physical talent you can't coach, you can't teach. It's just born with. Does he have, a lot to grow in? I think so, but it's not a negative thing. I hate when people are going like, he's not a finished product. I don't think he's a finished product. I don't think much high school kids are finished products. But I think there's areas in his game where he can grow that just so much work way better at the collegiate level and NFL level when ball placement is a lot better. He's a guy who can go up there and catch the football with the highest of them. So ball placement at the next level, I think, is going to unlock a part of his game where you don't see it on film because the ball placement, but he's also just running by people 24/7. He was at Monarch, went to Chaminade, went back to Monarch. I think there's a lot of people who like to say a lot of stuff like that. I know kind of what was going on there. I don't think it's anything that people like to say. It's always funny how stuff like that spreads about a kid. But I like our chances, to be honest with you. I think does he end up like at Ohio State, like a lot of 5-star South Florida receivers? It's a high probability, to be honest with you. I think he got the googly eyes for Ohio State or Georgia, but I do think Miami's positioned well to maybe keep him home.
There was the first picture on his 24/7 was him with Brian Hartline. So, like, of course it was.
Yeah, I mean, hey, bro, like that was off 8th grade, bro. Like legend, like people knowing, bro. Like, yo, this kid's 6'3". Like, what? He's you sure he's in freaking language arts right now? Like, check his birth certificate. I mean, and he's a good kid too. So a lot of those guys happy for him. I think his name being on the 7-on-7 circuit, he plays with SFE. That's why I made the Ohio State jokes, but I think that's going to elevate his profile because what he did on OT7 and stuff like that. So more people are going to be knowing about him, but I think it's really just the three big schools that have been after him already, the Ohio States, the Georgias, those schools that will have to battle him.
Right. Bill, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think kind of what Steve was alluding to, right? I think we need to get a receiver in the first round and just say, hey, you can do this at Miami, right? They have the googly eyes for Ohio State. I would too if I was a receiver. That's where it's at, right? The draft shows it, and we're gonna, see it again. In 2 years when Jeremiah Smith is going top 2, top 3. So our own development, a guy like JoJo or Nikar, one of those young guys. We really need to elevate them to be that kind of shining example that, hey, you can be a first-round receiver at Miami. Because if we can unlock that pipeline, great, because that pipeline was going to Alabama for a while, then it shifted to Ohio State. We're missing out on a lot of big-time talent because we just haven't been able to do it at receiver, the last, decade or so.
Yeah,
we've gotten better, but just draft-wise. The production, thankfully, we got out the shadow realm and started running like a spread offense. And you'll see X. I think he's helped himself with a good combine. He'll be a solid day 2 pick. Mm-hmm. Jacoby helped himself with the Shrine Bowl practices, was doing what he was supposed to do. I think he helped himself. He could be a higher day 3 pick, in my opinion, maybe a day 2, depending on if somebody cared that he's 168 pounds or not. It'll do well. I think they'll both do well in the NFL. Sam Brown, we'll see what remains. He had a good week from at least the clip that they showed.
Got a combine invite, so
yeah, so he should do good in the combine invite. He's pretty fast. Everybody's seen that, so we'll see. How that goes. But having 3 receivers drafted, not being the first round though, it'll help. We're spinning that narrative. Hey, you can come here to Miami. Quarterback's going to throw for 3,500 plus yards. You're going to have plenty of opportunities. You won't have Elijah Arroyo to snatch some of your passes away.
Yeah,
things like that. You'll have Lofton, but don't tell them that.
Yeah.
Not until they sign. Actually, not even what they signed. Don't tell them that. You might have hide the spring game from some of your own players so they don't transfer.
Yeah, that's maybe another reason why. Like, hey, coach, I should be getting more snaps, or more passes. Like, relax. But yeah, I mean, the idea of getting Cam as a potential #1 overall pick, X could be a round 2 pick, and who knows with Arroyo? Arroyo could end up being top 40 pick in there too. He could be a first rounder.
There's no position like tight end that could spring up. Because if you're a quarterback and you're not a first round quarterback, it don't matter. They're not picking you. Outside of Kenny Pickett in Pittsburgh, that was like the stupidest thing ever. Like what happened to Matt Corral at Ole Miss like a couple years ago. If you're that first quarterback, it don't matter. You're not that guy. You're not going first round, buddy. We're going to pick these other positions. Tight end is one that if some of the top tight ends start going, they might reach a little bit. Organizations like Baltimore have done it constantly. You have organizations like San Francisco that have done it constantly. Organizations it's just so much. The tight end position has evolved now. You have a team like the Kansas City Chiefs who could say, okay, Kelsey's on his last leg, if not his last toe. Like, it's time to get a guy like Arroyo in here. Mahomes is here for, for the rest of his career. You know what I'm saying? So at those sneaky good teams and sneaky good teams that are playing for Super Bowls, they draft at the end of those rounds. And, that's the tight end is the quarterback's best friend. Think about Dallas Goedert. Now he's getting old. He's getting older. You give Jalen Hurts a big weapon, blah, blah, blah. Like it's so much stuff at the back end of a first round that could actually benefit for a pass red zone threat tight end, whole field threat tight end. I think Arroyo, I'm not saying he's going to sneak into the first round, but he could low-key be one of the first picks of the second round, bro. All these tight ends off the board. Penn State tight ends going to be off the board, long gone. Stuff like he really could shoot up as like, hey, now we're looking at pass catchers on a board. Even he might be above some of these receivers at this point in this draft. Let's draft Arroyo. Boom. That's how Senior Bowl he had. And at the combine, he's going to light it up, bro. We know he's going to light it up at the combine. He's a freak. They're going to be like, oh, my God, this guy at Miami. Oh, man, they're going to be talking about him on the podcast. Be like, I always knew he was a star. Everything's working at Miami. He ran 22 miles an hour as fast as Tyreek Hill at some points in that Georgia Tech touchdown, blah, blah, blah. Wait till they see him jump. They haven't even seen him do high jump or broad jump or anything crazy like that, bro. They're going to be on. They're going to be swinging.
And like you talk about upgraded offense with a tight end. I mean, like think about all the tight ends that have quickly upgraded things. But like when the Eagles got Goddard, they had Ertz. They still wanted Goddard. The idea of like bringing when obviously likely has been a godsend for the Ravens this year when Mark Andrews kind of half out of it, but they drafted him in that same way. Like we know Andrews going to be out of here soon. So get likely and see what we can do. Upgraded the offense, right? He became like de facto number 3 receiver for them last year as a rookie.
Brock Bowers, like he was their entire off, like 119 passes, whatever stupid number that was. Yeah, Louis was coaching too.
Run two tight end sets, right? Even going back to the Patriots.
Yeah, I think teams are more open to a lot of stuff now, and like with receiver, I know that like you can get receivers that can contribute. That could be your, number 3, number 4 option. You can get those guys later and just find a guy that fits. But with some of these athletic tight ends, you can get a guy that could be your top tight end. They can block, do all that stuff, and then be a star for you in the pass game. Like you don't get a guy, a blue chip level guy like Arroyo in the back end of the second round. You can get it. You got to get him earlier. And then the more teams start to think, man, we're not getting him. We got to get him earlier. Easily be the second tight end drafted. If he's second tight end drafted, he's probably going in the first round with the strength at the top of this tight end class. So. But now quarterback, you got him. You got Jalen Rivers playing like a stud in the Senior Bowl. You got a lot of these dudes. 10 Canes at the combine. So that draft process could start to get a little bit better. Maybe start to open some eyes, especially when you got some dudes that could be more first round picks, high end first rounders on the line next year, offense and defense. Not that people are going to be taking so many questions about if we had 5 combine guys last year, now 10 already. So
we're going to be well represented. Just even like thinking about where guys are projected to go, right? Cam Ward's going at the top, so we got the first round covered. Arroyo's, fringe first round guy, most likely day 2 guy, X, Jalen Rivers, and then you got some guys that on the back end as well that probably rounds 5 through 7, or maybe even priority. But we'll be well represented for the first time in a while, right?
Yeah, Barron will get drafted. I bet Alston will get drafted. Barrow will get drafted.
I don't know.
Mish probably gets drafted. Borregales going to get drafted, I think. I know his brother had a hard deal, but I think Borregales will go. So there's a good amount of guys that are going to get picked there. Sam Brown, like Steve-O said, he's got speed. Shows up at the combine, he'll get picked. It's kind of the way it all shakes out. But it's between, like Birdstone's saying too, it's for tight end, it's Warren, Colton Loveland, Mason Taylor, and Arroyo as your big 4.
Harold Fannin too from Bowling Green.
Oh yeah, Fannin.
I've seen him get mocked up there a little bit too. So
true. It's
crowded at the top.
Yes, who fits the best? And Arroyo fits everything. Fannin's kind of a slate guy. You're not going to say that with Arroyo. Different little setups there. But we'll see how that shakes out. I'm interested to see, too, Ohio State with their dominance at receiver. They decided to promote Brian Hartline to OC. We'll see how that goes with them. I mean, it was probably more of we got to keep this guy not that he's going to have any extra responsibilities necessarily, but we have to keep this guy around. Ryan Day will probably be the one calling plays anyway. So, but that was an interesting little move that we saw. I don't know if you guys have a thought on that or comment on that.
I already talked to Ohio State too much. I ain't going to talk to him no more.
No positive, no intrigue there. What if
There's
you feel like a
nothing
negative
positive
perspective?
about Brian Hartline staying at OSU? That matters because that NIL is going to be there. Ohio State, there's every report you could find about Ohio State's money that they spend.
Well,
But
what if
the guy that's
other
been
side?
behind the machine of first round picks that you could say, hey, then you even got guys who weren't first round picks that are producing in the league that were under him. That's just like, I don't like him being there. The West Virginia job, he was never going to West Virginia. But if he's the OC at Penn State, at Ohio State, excuse me, you never know if Penn State just want to take him out of nowhere. But if he's still the OC at 2-3 years, I think that's when you might think he might take a job somewhere. But as of right now, he's in the perfect position. Yeah, let me just keep reeling in these 5 stars out of every corner of the globe, and then Coach Ryan Day is going to call plays.
See, I'm thinking the other side of it. Like, what if Ohio State, because they're not going to be as good as they were this year, next year. Like, it's almost impossible to replace 10 defensive starters. So, like, if they're not as good, we saw what happened with Ryan Day. Like, they lost a game and then they were ready to burn his house down up there in Columbus. So
they already done built it back up.
I know, but they'll get those matches out quick.
He's bought himself some time.
But Natty, of course. I mean, even Ed Orgeron bought 2-3 years after a Natty.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah, I want him.
People.
I want him out of Columbus, and I was kind of thinking like him and kind of like a Fran Brown were kind of maybe like similar type guys, like awesome recruiters, but Fran Brown was willing to go just to get a head coaching job. Right, he took a job in Syracuse that a lot of people thought was one of the worst P4 jobs out there, and look what he did in year 1. So maybe Hartline would consider a job like a West Virginia or wherever in the future. But do I think he would get like some kind of top level job? Like I don't even know what jobs are like. Would Florida be interested in him? Probably not. So I feel like he might be
actually
too picky.
Sounds like a Florida thing to do.
Yeah.
See, I'm thinking the opposite. Rather than a head coach college job, like I'm thinking eventually he'll just make a move for easy money up in the NFL, go get an NFL wide receiver coach job, and just ride that out for the next 20 years. He'll get receiver coach jobs for decades. Coach gets fired, whatever. There's another spot.
No, I think he's built for the college game. It's a new beast. I think he trolls on Twitter. He does stuff like he's for the college game. He's for it.
And
You think
he wouldn't have like 10 first-round picks at his wide receiver room either in the NFL.
Yeah, it'd be a lot harder coaching just an like an AJ Brown and Devontae Smith instead of having Jameson Williams on your bench.
We had worse players for like with lower blue chip rating in the NFL than Ohio State. All right, but that was on the big topic. Steve, there's one more thing that has come up. I know more recently that I've been meaning to ask you about. So I wanted to go to you on it, but it's talking about the draft, right? The receivers coming in the draft. Talking about Travis Hunter as an NFL prospect. Like, to you, what would you do? Like, what advice would you give him as far as like going to the NFL? He wants to play both positions. You mentioned it before with a guy moving up to the college level. It's easier to play receiver and corner in college, but at the NFL level, like, do you think he could play both positions? And if he does play both, how would you split that time up? Could he be a full-time guy playing corner and receiver, or you would, if you were his coach, like say, no, I think you're going to do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. What do you think, Steve?
My advice to him would be, God bless you, and do whatever you can to stay healthy, because it's a 17, potentially 18 game seasons in the NFL. That is a lot more. I definitely don't think, oh my God, it's the NFL. He can't do both ways. He's otherworldly talented at both positions. So as long as his physique allows him to play up to his standard and ability, he's going to be an impact player on both sides of the ball. If I was his coach, that's not 7-on-7. I might think about a pitch count, to be honest, because why would you want your best player on both sides of the ball to be like nothing in the tank come playoff time?
Right.
And then next thing you know, somebody's running right by him. Somebody's, he's missing tackles. It's because he's been playing, 1,000, 1,500 snaps in the regular season. I think that's smart for him to do cornerback drills. Because same thing with Lamar Jackson. Don't do no running stuff. Don't do things that they want to push a narrative on you. They want to push the narrative on him that he's a receiver. He should play receiver in the NFL. So I think that's smart and cool for him to go there and participate in the cornerback drills and be like, hey, I'm playing as a DB, and show them what's up. Everybody can know what he do on offense, but I think that's smart for him. But yeah, I'm probably thinking pitch count just because the seasons are just too long, bro. And you don't get that break between, the last game of the season and then your bowl game or the playoff game if you made it that far. Like, bro, it's like the very next week, wild card weekend.
Right.
Like, you might be out there. Like, there's only 4 teams not out there.
When you say a pitch count, though, are you like you got X amount percentage of the defensive snaps, X amount percentage of offense, or are you like you're our starting corner and we'll make sure you get 10 to 15 snaps on offense. We'll make sure you touch the ball. What are you thinking?
Nah, that's not enough because then that means every time he's in the game, he's going to get the ball. You can't do that either because then you're going to get him hurt. Everybody just keys on him. I would say you're my starting cornerback and you play – every other drive, receiver. How you feeling? Fourth quarter, close. I really don't know, but it's got to be more based on how you're feeling. How his body's. If he's a little banged up, maybe I only play him. If he's playing hurt, which everybody in the NFL is playing hurt. During the season, maybe that's when I start thinking, okay, I'll start playing you more at one position than the other. If you have no depth at corner and you're getting bombed, and you got like Tyreek Hill coming up this week, then yeah, you might want to think, hey, we're gonna leave him at corner. Oh man, we got the Bengals coming up. Like we need somebody to follow Jamar and pray. Like we're gonna have to put Travis at corner more. So I guess it could be matchups, but yeah, a pitch count would be in mind. It'd be a disservice to your athlete that you're coaching to put his body on the line like that much. I want him to play both ways. I want him to be the first to do it at a higher rate, even though Deion Sanders did it, but he didn't do it as much as what Travis Hunter potentially could be doing. Right. I want all that for him. I want him to break down the barrier. I love it. I love how all these kids want to do it now. Are they Travis Hunter? No. I try to tell them they're not that guy, but they just want to do it. So I'm for it. I'm for it at all. But yeah, he has to have a pitch count. Like, I'm sorry, bro. Like, I can't look at his mama and be like, hey, I got his best percent heart if I'm letting him play 70 snaps on defense and 70 snaps on offense in the NFL. I mean, guys, he's not going to be tackling, car insurance salesmen like now. Like, he'll be going against like NFL running backs that bring them to the ground. Like, it is hard to tackle an NFL running back. Like, you ever seen freaking like what's his name from the Packers again? Josh Jacobs. You ever seen him? You want to tackle him? Hell no, you don't. Like, you don't want to tackle none of these NFL running backs. They all look crazy big. Like, you want to go tackle J.K. Dobbins, 30 times? No, you don't. So it's a lot physical toll on it. I want him to have all the chance, but yeah, pitch count for sure.
And Bill, as a fan of a team that is so bad consistently that they're in a great position to take Travis Hunter, except for the game they won that put him in a worse position. But like, what's your perspective? Because he could very easily be wearing a Jaguar uniform next year if he drops to number 5. People go quarterback crazy. So what are your thoughts on it?
He's not dropping a 5, but something I've thought about quite a bit, especially the last. Pretty much through November, I guess, before the Jags blew it at the end with winning. But I wouldn't want him playing both ways. And for the Jags position, right? They need a corner. They have Brian Thomas. I envision him playing opposite Brian Thomas on the outside. Like, that's a crazy duo at wide receiver, just in terms of freak athleticism. But then, if he is a shutdown corner, is that more valuable than essentially being like a number 2 or like a 1.5 type, receiver opposite, Brian Thomas? So if if the Jags do draft, I would just say put him at one position, let him excel there, be an all pro. Because Sivo was saying the injury issues, and then you're not, it's not college anymore. Yes, you're going up against good competition in college, but there's so much to do, so much more to learn, right, in the professional game, to go both ways. It's not just all about athleticism at that point. So, short answer, put him at one position. If the Jags get him, I would just say put him at receiver. Let's just have a fun offense and see what happens from there.
CF Kane fan says if he goes to the Patriots, According to be set for the next 10 years. I don't think there's a chance According to the Patriots are going to take him. They're going to take a lineman from Purdue or something stupid. Mike Vrabel's going to follow out. He's 100% not going to take Travis Hunter. Do not believe
he might play like 100% of snaps on both sides if he plays for Mike Vrabel.
If he goes there.
He legit might play both ways all game if he plays for Coach Vrabel.
Vrabel just ripping him. Like he gives up a deep touchdown, just giving him hell. And then he's like, get the hell back out there for kickoff or kick return. You do get water. We don't drink water on this sideline. Get the hell out of here.
If you don't need that IV, don't talk to me.
I would love to see the post-game interaction between with the Dolphins and the Patriots. Like what a difference of coaches. Just like physical stature, like mental demeanor, the way they talk.
Like everybody in the league. I mean, Mike McDaniel just looks like a nerd more than everybody in the league, but that's pretty much everybody next to Mike Vrabel.
I know, but we're like at the elite nerdism level. Little scrawny weirdo versus Mike Vrabel. Vrabel probably hates that Mike McDaniel's even in the league as a head coach. Like, how dare he play at the highest level? Blah blah blah. One of those guys, but I don't know. Crushes his little hand, his tiny little hand when he go to handshake. Anyway, well, I mean, Mike McDaniel probably won't be the coach of the Dolphins anymore for much longer either, because I'm not sure that's going really well out there. But anyway, or maybe they will, but probably not. But still. Let's see. Some aggressive IU Canes fan use trying to get us new microphones. Made an aggressive comment. We'll see what we can do with that in the future. But that'll pretty much do it for us. Another week of off-season Miami Hurricanes talk. Another week looking forward to some news and things like that happening. A lot of potential stuff. Not a lot of stuff actively occurring, but we'll start to see that shake out a little bit more. Winter workouts go through, and then the spring starts, and then the portal opens again, and summer talk, and the actual football is far away. But obviously, we have the Super Bowl coming this weekend. We'll hit on a real quick prediction with that. So, give final thoughts and throw your Super Bowl prediction in there for fun too. So, Bill, final thoughts for the people.
Now that we're officially in the off season, one of the great traditions of this show is Chris will tease a all-times Canes fantasy draft. That won't happen, but we'll talk about it. Prediction, I'm going to go Eagles 31, Chiefs 27.
Okay, one more thing. This is from CF Kane fan. He asked away at the start. Who is on your list of all-time underrated players for the Canes? So also throw in with your prediction, toss in a favorite underrated Cane of yours.
I think you probably know where I'm going, but the great Mo Sykes.
Damn it. My guy.
One of my all-time favorites. He's also extremely underrated for what he did for the Canes. Being overshadowed by some legends. Opposite playing opposite safety from him. So I got the Eagles, and then I got Mo Sykes. Beat that.
Very good. All right, Steve-O, final thoughts. Give us a Super Bowl prediction, and then an all-time underrated Hurricane.
Bro, just talk to me next week, and we're going to talk the penalty ratio between the Chiefs and the Eagles. The Chiefs are definitely going to win. Anytime Saquon busts a run over 10, 15 yards, there's going to be a penalty. You can call holding on every play, and if you're calling against the Chiefs, you're most likely going to call it almost every play. That's what the league wants. They want the three-peat. They took the damn thing from Pat Riley. They want this so much. I just don't see how the Eagles are going to win this game. To be real with you, I want the Eagles to win more than anything. I'm gonna go Chiefs. And underrated Canes is hard because most of my favorite Canes are all underrated. To be honest with you, I don't want to go too recent, so let me go in my bag. Underrated Kane. I feel like most of my Canes are from my era all underrated because we, by y'all definition, old times we sucked. So most of my favorites are underrated. I could go Damian Barry, who's one of my favorites. I can go Brandon Harris. I'll go Brandon McGee.
Brandon McGee. It's a good one. I figured you'd just go right to Roscoe, so I'm glad you went a little bit off the board. I knew Bill was going to pick Mo Sykes, but glad you switched up a little bit. Prediction for me, the Chiefs are going to win. Chiefs are going to probably win, score a lot of points, as they always do. The Eagles overrated on defense. I'm going to go Chiefs 34, Eagles 24. 34-24. And underrated Canes, I could go with like a little like mental list of it, but like underrated to like all-time great level. A guy like James Jackson, who was like right in that sweet spot of like between like the years where we were like on that, probation and all that, who was a really, really good back. And I don't think he ever really gets enough credit for being a really, really good running back. Yatil Green, who was like awesome, like an awesome player for like a short span of time there, but he kept getting hurt in the NFL. So like he never really got, the love of the all-time great Miami receivers, even though when he was at Miami, he was great. But again, like hit that sweet spot of time where people kind of like what Steve-O was saying about, recently every modern like past 10-year Cane catches heat because the teams weren't up to the level. Like that's exactly what the late 90s were. Like that exact thing before like we took off again. If you played for the Canes in the mid to late 90s, you were just like they didn't care. Like you didn't even factor into like the all-time conversation. So sucks for a guy like that. Old school, Mike Sullivan, guy that started for 4 years, started at guard for 2 years, and started to tackle for 2 years and won 2 national championships. Another good dude too. James Lewis, stud. Same reason as Mo Sykes. James Lewis played next to Ed Reed. Made one of the biggest plays in the national championship game. But you hear obviously about Dorsey to Johnson, Porter to Joachim. But James Lewis scored a touchdown defensively in that game too. Kyle Cobia, that's a great one. Bubba McDowell from Cristoforo.
Yeah.
Kevin
Darrell
Langham. He made some big plays. Matt Walters back from the championship teams back in 2001.
Hold on, Darryl McClover.
Darryl McClover was not that underrated. He was about right rated, I think. he was
overshadowed.
Howard Clark, though. I'll give it Howard Clark. Howard Clark and Chris Campbell, honestly, two guys that played next to Vilma and DJ. Both guys held their own for sure.
Outside of like the 2017 team, everybody else was just like, like imagine if we were winning and Jared Willis had that 2018 season. I mean, bro, like if Jared Willis had that same season he had the year prior when we started off 10-0, he would have been a first round pick.
100%. Like that Gerald Willis season was. I mean, I don't want to like overstate it, but because we had some great ones, but in the vicinity of some of the best defensive tackle seasons we've ever seen. Like the only guys that I can guarantee you had better individual defensive tackle seasons, like guarantee you, are Sapp, Tez, Russell, and Jerome. Like outside of those four guys, I don't know if there was a better defensive tackle single season than Gerald Willis.
Yeah, that was
like
crazy.
Only those four. Like I'm not put Vince in the mix.
Yeah,
I think that was
he
better.
put the chain on for like 5 weeks in a row. It was crazy. It was crazy.
Other guys, Jay Brophy, Nate Webster, Animal. I mean, how good are you that you keep Dan Morgan, who is the best linebacker to ever play for Miami as a college player? You kept Dan Morgan an outside linebacker. That's how good Nate Webster was. That Dan Morgan had to wait till his senior year to play inside because Nate Webster was so good. Stacey Coley, really good one too. Yeah, but it's a good point by Steve-O. Like, if we were winning those teams, like Gerald Willis would have been something different. People would have talked about him in a whole different conversation. Even in Njoku, right? Njoku, like all-time great Miami tight ends, Njoku doesn't really get nearly as much love as I think he probably should. For a dude who's had – how many years he's been in the league now? 8 years, 9 years? Guy's going to have a decade-long career.
Probably like 5, like 7 mark. Probably at the 7 mark.
7, like the guy's going to play in the league for 10 years after having a great, a guy that became a great athlete too. Went from great athlete to great player. Javon Nanton, a dominant player in the old video games, and like 92 speed as a defensive end. But Jamal Green, Andrew Williams on those 0-1 team, that 0-1 team, guys playing opposite Jerome McDougal, pretty good deal. Anyway, sorry we waited so long, CFK fan, but I appreciate you staying on there and reminding us. Give you some good names there at the end. I'll think of some more stuff for next week too. But that'll do it for us. Thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate you guys jumping in and participating in the chat. You always know we like to see that those conversations happen as much as possible. You want to close the door on some of these 2026? Shirko Haji Razuli, late submission from Canes fan U. But some of these really like high-end Canes that we've seen. If you want to help add to that list of high-end Canes, especially now that we're talking about 2026 guys, you know the deal. Go to Canes Connection, help and contribute. You want to get Derek Cooper and all those guys. Steve-O said it himself, like Canes Connection is the ticket. Let's see what you can do to help out there and make some positive impact on Miami. But that'll do it for us. So for Bill and Steve-O, my name is Chris. Thank you guys for tuning in and watching the show. Make sure you keep it locked for all the other great stuff here on Canes Insights channel throughout the course of the week. We'll see you again next Wednesday night right here. Same place, same time. For Bill and Steve-O, I'm Chris. Everyone have a good night.
This is for the national championship for Nebraska. He's a stud, that Brown, number 98.
Irvin's got it. Irvin's free.
Slips to the outside, tries to stiff arm, but he couldn't get by Ray Lewis.